Oh, hello. Today we're taking a look at traps from the Dungeon Master's Guide on page 120. Now I'm going to be putting in my 2 cents every now and then, bit of context where I can, but otherwise I'll be reading straight from these pages. Now, traps. Traps can be found almost anywhere. One wrong step in an ancient tomb might trigger a series of scything blades which cleave through armor and bone. The seemingly innocuous vines that hang over a cave entrance might grasp and choke anyone who pushes through them. A net hidden among the trees might drop on travelers who pass underneath. In the D&D game, unwary adventurers can fall to their deaths, be burned alive, or fall under a fusillade of poison darts. A trap can be either mechanical or magical in nature. Mechanical traps include pits, arrow traps, falling blocks, water-filled rooms, whirling blades, and anything else that depends on a mechanism to operate. Magic traps are either magical device traps or spell traps. Magical device traps initiate spell effects when activated. Spell traps are spells such as glyph of warding and symbols that functions as traps. Pretty self-explanatory, really. Now, traps in play. When adventurers come across a trap, you need to know how the trap is triggered and what it does, as well as the possibility for the players to detect the trap and to avoid it. To disable or avoid it, apologies. Now, triggering a trap. Most traps are triggered when a creature goes somewhere or touches something that the trap's creator wanted to protect. Common triggers include stepping on a pressure plate or a false section of floor, pulling a tripwire, turning a doorknob, or using the wrong key in a lock. Magic traps are often set to go off when a creature enters an area or touches an object. Some magic traps, such as the glyph of warding spell, have more complicated trigger conditions, including a password that prevents the trap from activating. I disagree with some of this. But I'll get to that later. Let me rephrase that. I agree with everything that's said here, but there's more to add. Detecting and disabling a trap. Now, here's when it gets to the good stuff. Usually some element of a trap is visible to careful inspection. Characters might notice an uneven flagstone that conceals a pressure plate, spot the gleam of light off a tripwire, notice small holes in the wall from which jets of flame will erupt, or otherwise detect something that points to a trap's presence. New. If a trap is triggered by a door opening, right, there's literally a solid surface, like, in front of you that you literally cannot see what's on the other side. So I disagree with that bit. Now, is there a way for the players in character to detect that trap then? I suppose so. Maybe they can slip a mirror, or they feel when they... Perception check doesn't necessarily always have to mean, oh, I see where the trap is coming from. It could also mean, I'm pulling on the knob, I feel a bit more resistance than a door this size should. Something's wrong. That could be a successful perception check. A trap's description specifies the checks and DCs needed to detect it, disable it, or both. A character actively looking for a trap can attempt a wisdom perception check against the trap's DC. You can also compare the DC to detect the trap with each character's passive wisdom perception score to determine whether anyone in the party notices the trap in passing. If the adventurers detect a trap before triggering it, they may be able to disarm it, either permanently or long enough to move past it. You might call for an intelligence investigation check for a character to deduce what needs to be done, followed by a dexterity check using thieves' tools to perform the necessary sabotage. For the most part, most DMs that I've ran into don't ask for the intelligence investigation check. They just say, oh, you use thieves' tool and you jam the thing. Usually it's on the players. It's on the players to determine the specifics if they really want to do something special with it. For example, let's just say there's a poison dart trap. You can just say, okay, I use my tools to clog the opening or something like that. and that'll disable the trap forever. I destroy the mechanisms inside. Some players, however, like me, because I'm a greedy little bugger, will go, can I do something to take the poison darts? And then I replace them with silver so the werewolves following us can get hit by these traps. Which case the DC might be raised because I'm trying to do something very specific. The stealing and the rearming of the traps, two different things. Any character can attempt an intelligence arcana check to detect or disarm a magic trap, in addition to any other checks noted in the trap's description. The DCs are the same regardless of the check used. In addition, Dispel Magic has a chance of disabling most magic traps. A magic trap's description provides the DC for the ability check made when you use Dispel Magic. It doesn't really give you the flavor of how Knowledge Arcana works. I like to imagine if there's like a magic circle hidden, you know which ones to rub out, which ones will be affected, which symbols that you touch will not set it off early, that sort of thing. In most cases, a trap's description is clear enough that you can adjudicate whether a character's actions locate or foil the trap. As with many situations, you shouldn't allow die rolling to override clever play and good planning. Yeah, for example, if there's like a bear trap or something like that in a hallway and a character... Apologies. And a character flies over it, you don't need to roll anything for them, for example. I mean, that's pretty common sense, really. If there's a bear trap and you have a very long stick and poke it, once again, you don't really need a dice check. You can just say, oh, the bear trap clamps around the big stick. It's safe to go past it now. Use your common sense, drawing on the trap's description to determine what happens. No trap's design can anticipate every possible action that the characters might attempt. You should allow a character to discover a trap without making an ability check if an action would clearly reveal the trap's presence. For example, if a character lifts a rug that conceals a pressure plate, the character has found the trigger and no check is required. Fair enough. Foiling traps can be a little more complicated. Consider a trapped treasure chest. If a chest is opened without first pulling on the two handles set in the sides, a mechanism inside fires a hail of poison needles towards anyone in front of it. After inspecting the chest and making a few checks, the characters are still unsure if it's trapped. Rather than simply open the chest, they prop a shield in front of it and push the chest open at a distance with an iron rod. In this case, the trap still triggers, but the hail of needles fire harmlessly into the shield. Traps are often designed with mechanisms that allow them to be disarmed or bypassed. Intelligent monsters that place traps in or around their lairs need ways to get past those traps without harming themselves. Such traps might have hidden levers that disable their triggers or a secret door that might conceal a passage that goes around the trap. Now, another purpose of traps, besides, protecting a home, having them hidden and disabling an enemy, it also mentions the net, so maybe it'll catch the players so that the monsters who set it can find them and eat them or keep them prisoner for whatever reason. I would say that some of the best traps are the ones that don't need to be used at all. Deterrence. You could have swinging blades in front of a door, for example, that are obviously going to kill you if you walk in front of it. You can have, a giant mallet or like a boulder, and none of it's actually hidden, or like a spikes on a roof or spikes on the walls, and you can see that if you walk ahead, they'll slap you or whatever, and the entire hallway could be one big giant pressure plate, for example. In those cases, a lot of people in real life would go, yeah, I'm not going to risk my life. I know there are things that are going to kill me there. I'm going to turn around and leave. Now, for adventurers, obviously, this is different, because they'll be like, what I need is over on the other side of these deadly traps. I have enough hit points, let's do this. Or I can disable it, or bypass it, whatever. But having traps there, being in secret and such like that, having them hidden away to hurt the enemy, hurt the players as they come in, you don't have to have traps designed that way. You can have traps very obviously displayed as, once again, a deterrent. You can have the best of both worlds. You can have a trap that's already gone off, and you can have a corpse or someone hurt, or bodily remains. Like I've had traps in hallways that breathe fire, and then you could see like the ash and smoke around, even if they couldn't see the actual nozzle of the little flamethrower. I think there was a spike trap where someone was impaled, but they couldn't see the thing that actually impaled the corpse. They just saw the hole and the blood everywhere. So the players kind of figured out, it's like, okay, something's impaling them, but it's obviously not a creature because of this reason, yada yada yada. Point is, traps don't have to be set off to serve their purpose. They can be there to scare people away. Alright, mind games essentially, right? Alright, trap effects. The effects of traps can range from inconvenient to deadly, making use of elements such as arrows, spikes, blades, poisons, toxic gas, blasts of fires, and deep pits. The deadliest traps combine multiple elements to kill, injure, contain, or drive off any creature unfortunate enough to trigger them. Drive off, I like that wording. A trap's description specifies what happens when it is triggered. The attack bonus of a trap, the save DC to resist its effects, and the damage it deals can vary depending on the trap's severity. Use the trap saves, DCs, and attack bonuses table and damage severity by level table for suggestions based on 3 levels of trap security. A trap intended to be a setback is unlikely to kill or seriously harm characters of the indicated levels, whereas a deadly trap is likely to seriously injure and potentially kill characters of the indicated level. A deadly trap, however, is likely to kill characters of the indicated level. Makes sense. Complex traps. Complex traps work like standard traps, except once activated, they execute a series of actions each round. A complex trap turns the process of dealing with the trap into something more like a combat encounter. When a complex trap activates, it rolls initiative. The trap's description includes an initiative bonus. On its turn, the trap activates again, often taking an action. It might make successive attacks against intruders, create an effect that changes over time, or otherwise produce a dynamic challenge. Otherwise, the complex trap can be detected and disabled or bypassed in the usual ways. For example, a trap that causes a room to slowly flood works best as a complex trap. On the trap's turn, the water level rises. After several rounds, the room is completely flooded. I have made a really devious trap. It seems very simple. Flooding room, water rises, you gotta drain it, right? In the middle, there is a tablet with 4 glowing crystals, right? And if the players touch these crystals, they light up, and some of the other lights stop lighting up. Here's the trick, though. The lights don't do anything. They're there to distract the players and make them think, oh god, the room is falling up. This is clearly a password of some sort. The crystals are doing nothing. We're clearly not doing it in the right order. And then, of course, it stalls them long enough that the water floods and kills them all. I haven't actually done that yet, and I hope anyone who plays my campaigns in the future won't be watching this video and spoil the surprise. And if you are watching this, please don't metagame. And then the rest of this is just sample traps, which I will continue in a later video one day. In the meantime, I thank you for joining me. Please comment, like, and subscribe. Please tell me how you use your traps in D&D games, if you run into any yourself as a player, how you got past them or got destroyed. Let me know below. Thank you very much. I appreciated your presence. My name is Freebowitz, and bye-bye.